Want to listen to the podcast where we talk sports raw and unfiltered?
Mahomes looking to flip, takes it in for the touchdown.
Looking for a little something on the edgy side?
Keep your head out there. They're going to do dumb. Play our game. All right? Play hard, but stay poised.
You're about to be locked into the Unscripted podcast.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Yep. You know what time it is, baby. Unscripted podcast right here on your favorite local platform. Whether you listen to the show on iTunes, or any of your local podcast platforms, I always appreciate you. And as always, we are running simultaneously on Facebook Live right now as we speak. So if you have Facebook and you're at lunch, feel free to check the podcast out. If you're not, enjoy the podcast if you're eating this later on or a little bit of dinner. Appreciate you hanging around with us. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Brian Ain't Lying. Again, if you look at the bottom of the screen, it has been announced today that Giannis Antetokounmpo will win his second most valuable player award. And we'll definitely talk about that towards the end of the podcast. I want to start here, but man, last night, let me clear a lot of things up. Like, this is the part where I understand that why media should put their phone down, because my friends, I was pissed off last night. Completely pissed off last night. Okay? And it took me a while to calm down and not be as frustrated as I was and not wanting to throw things probably across my room like, allegedly Marcus Smart did. But the Celtics gave up another double-digit lead. And sorry about that. I'm still kind of frustrated. They're down 0-2. In reality, the Celtics should be up 2-0. They have controlled both games. Maybe not have dominated them, but they were able to control both games. And somehow, last night was a thing for Eric Spoelstra, first of all. Shout out to Eric Spoelstra. Boston could not stop the same play to Bam, and Spoelstra said, hey, until they stop it, keep running that one play. Boston can't stop it. They couldn't. Bam Adebayo by himself had, 15 points in the third quarter? So, again, Brad Stevens made 0 adjustments. My thing is, he didn't burn a timeout. There was nothing done during that Heat run. So the Heat just went out there and they just made a run and, it was, I'm not going to burn a timeout. No, you have to burn a timeout. I would have done it. I would have sat all 5 guys down at one point in time, whether it's for a minute, whether it's for 2 minutes. All 5 of the starters for the Celtics deserve to have a seat. No one man should be held accountable, but this is unreal. Then after the game, Marcus Smart runs into the locker room, which, they're downplaying, but we're not going to downplay it here on Unscripted. We're just not going to do it. He goes into the locker room, and of course, he's frustrated, and he's yelling, he's screaming, he's throwing stuff. And then I guess more reports came out today that now it was him and Jaylen Brown who were very, very frustrated at the effort that the Celtics gave. And I get it. There's a ton of frustration. And now it looks like it was maybe Smart versus Brown with the altercations. People say that Marcus Smart wants to play fake tough guy in that act. I don't think it's fake tough guy. Watch the game. Watch his raw emotions when the clock hit 000. Marcus Smart could have tossed everything at that point if he could have on the court. It was a bad effort. I always say this about the Celtics. They are a team who should never be up in a game. They get up and they forget. They forget that the game is still going on. Why? What's my favorite slogan? If anybody follows me on Twitter, then you guys hear my favorite slogan. Basketball is a game full of runs, and it is. So when the Heat were starting to make a run, I personally would have stopped the game. This leads me to all the different all the different avenues for the Boston Celtics. They were able to acquire all of these assets from Brooklyn, whether it's Memphis, whether it's signing trades, whether it's free agents coming to the team. And this is their ceiling. Their ceiling is the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not a bad ceiling. Let me clear that up for anybody that thinks that reaching your conference finals is a bad ceiling. But with this team and the assets and the young players and the quote unquote coach that you have in place, you should have been in the NBA Finals. And I hate to say it, you're not going to the NBA Finals this year. Miami is not going to squander a 2-0 lead. They just are led by a coach who doesn't let his team get out of control. Eric Spoelstra does not get enough credit. Brad Stevens, to me, I think that the marriage is almost over for Brad Stevens. I like Brad. I've never really fell in love with Brad, but I think the marriage is over. He hasn't, there were zero adjustments. This is the one thing that's always haunted me about Stevens. He doesn't make adjustments. He doesn't make in-game adjustments. At any point of the game, you have to sit people down. I would have sat from Kemba Walker to Jason Tatum for at least 2 to 3 minutes. I would have sat all 5 of those guys down. Okay? Because first of all, Boston gave up the 17-point lead regardless. So I rather would have had the bench in, and if the bench gives up the 17-point lead, well, whatever. I don't feel the same way as the starters giving up the 17-point lead. So Brad Stevens has to make changes during the game. Game 3, it's game 7 for Boston. There's not even an if and a but about it. Game 3 is game 7 for the Celtics. When you look at the series, Boston has dominated. They've controlled this game. It's sad when I personally have to listen to an interview. I think it was Rachel Nichols or somebody from ESPN. Jimmy Butler sat down with them and said, "Hey, I know for 3 quarters I got to get my guys involved, and then the other quarter, which is the fourth quarter, I can kind of start turning it up and doing my thing." That's not, as a Celtics fan, I'm basically hearing that guy saying, "Man, you know what? I don't think this team can beat us. So for 3 quarters, let me get Jay Crowder, who has been outstanding. Let me not take nothing away from Jay Crowder." I was mad when Boston even got rid of Jay Crowder. But Jay Crowder, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Goran Dragic, who has been like the ageless Goran, like he's back in dragon mode. Even off the bench has played well. I I I just don't get it. I would have loved to see Brad Stevens make timeouts, make adjustments, and not squander the entire 17-point lead. The Heat finished the third quarter 37-17. They outscored Boston by 20. Then in the fourth quarter, the Heat started to die down. And then Boston regained the lead 94-89. And then after that, Boston did the exact thing I said they were going to do. They get comfortable. I don't know why you get comfortable. Leads in any sport, any professional sport doesn't say that you have won the game. You haven't won the game until there are triple zeros on the clock. So, again, Boston can come back in this series. Can they make it competitive? Yes. I think just going down 0-2 doesn't look good for the Celtics. Game 3 is Saturday. For anybody that thinks that Gordon Hayward, any Celtics fan that thinks that Gordon Hayward's coming through that door is going to be the life savior, Gordon Hayward is not the savior. Gordon Hayward gives you an extra maybe body on the floor, but you got to remember he's missed pretty much the entire playoffs, so he's trying to come back in the East Finals, which I just don't see him being a big component right now at this late in the season. So again, that's I probably ran it through some of that. I ran it. I had a little conversation. I got a little fired up. I just want to see the Celtics, come with that same type of energy. And again, Crowder's played well. I mean, it feels like Crowder made more than 3 3-pointers. He only made 3. Feels like Crowder played well. Bam controlled the rebounding game. Tyler Hero off the bench. And that's what's killing the Celtics is that they have one guy on the bench, which is Brad Wanamaker, and everybody else is pretty much a complete liability on the bench. The only thing that Gordon Hayward will help out with is if Boston decides to let him come off the bench, which I think he should do. He should come off the bench and help give that second unit some type of scoring. I won't give everybody a hangover on the Celtics because I know everybody's giving me Twitter and Facebook and Instagram is giving me hell about my Celtics being down 0-2. What I want to talk about is about being down is the Clippers. The Los Angeles Clippers. Look, man, I'm not a Clippers fan at all. Not a Lakers fan, definitely. Everybody, I don't care who you are, you rooted for Clippers, Lakers, Western Conference Finals. That's what you wanted. It almost felt like 2009. If you remember 2009, when everybody was mad that Orlando made the NBA Finals, everybody wanted to see Kobe versus LeBron, and LeBron's Cavs could not get over top of that hump. This is the exact same thing. It is no disrespect to Denver and their organization and what they're doing, because what the Nuggets are doing is something special. But we all looked for that LA matchup. It was built for the paper. Even though it's in a neutral site, it was built for ratings. It was built for everything. Not to say that if you're still a true fan of sports, you're going to watch the Lakers and the Nuggets play, but you wanted to see LA and LA. In Game 7, Kawhi Leonard was not Kawhi Leonard. But here's the thing. Kawhi Leonard played great the entire playoffs. I'm not going to sit there and want to, throw Kawhi Leonard off the, great player train and be like, oh, he isn't great, because he didn't do anything in Game 7. No. Listen, Kawhi Leonard did what Kawhi Leonard could do and help lead that team to that point. I mean, you think about it. In Game 7, yeah, he shot 6 for 22. But Playoff P, which after today, y'all, I don't want to hear anybody else call him Playoff P. He is not Playoff P. He doesn't have confidence, never has, never will have confidence. You're trying to tell me that this guy went 4 of 16, 2 of 11 from three-point land in a big game, Game 7. Paul George cried about leaving Indiana because they weren't getting better. They weren't acquiring stars. Listen, at least you made the conference finals with Indiana. So you leave Indiana and go to OKC because you wanted out and you didn't want to be there no more. Well, you went to OKC and you and Westbrook didn't even work at all. It didn't even work. So you found your way out of OKC to say, oh, I just want to go home now. I'm homesick and now I want to play with the Clippers. And you go to the Clippers and you haven't been impressive at all. Now the Clippers are talking about possibly trying to get Derrick Rose, which to me, Derrick Rose doesn't change the Clippers organization. Derrick Rose is just going to come in and be another guy. It's just frustrating to see that team, and they had all the talent in the world, and for them to downplay this season because Paul George, Mr. Trash Talker that never does anything on the court, Pat Bev, they were out there, oh man, yeah, we came together and we're going to win and we're going to do this. And Pat Bev told Steph Curry last year, the next 5 years are mine. You're going home. This team isn't, look, let's just call a spade a spade. Doc Rivers got to go. Listen, Doc Rivers has got to go. His coaching style is probably not built for that type of team anymore. You remember the last time he had to deal with, maybe a juggernaut type of team was the Celtics and that big three. And I think they kind of willed Doc on versus Doc willing them on. Again, I don't want to hear anybody call Paul George Playoff P ever again. He's Paul George. I mean, Lou Williams, that's what I'm saying. They downplayed everything. So Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell finished 1-2 in the Sixth Man of the Year award. Now, I don't know how the NBA decided to declare 2 guys on one team can be a 6-man, but whatever. They declared 2 guys on one team can be a 6-man. Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams, they just weren't great. Montrezl Harrell was solid. Lou Will was nowhere to be found. I mean, at that point, you might as well just put Reggie Jackson in And Reggie Jackson was useless, but you rather have put Reggie Jackson in. Marcus Morris, the tough guy act, that didn't work out as well. And this is not to even shade the Denver Nuggets, who came out in Game 7 down by, as much as 17 again? Like, Denver was down double digits, and then the Clippers just said, hey, nah, we don't want it to be LA. Why would we do that? Props to a guy like Jamal Murray, who's playing out of this world. Like, the bubble, I get it. The bubble hasn't benefited guys because of being away from their family, not being able to have that family time. Well, some guys, let's just be honest, miss nightlife, because after you lose sometimes, you need nightlife. Well, in the bubble, there's no nightlife. We're going to go back to the hotel. We're going to play Xbox One, PS4. We're going to probably shoot a little bit of craps in the corner. Maybe play a little couple card games or something like that, 100,000 on the line or something like that. But it ain't fun like nightlife. And I'm not going to take any away from Denver, man. Nikola Jokic, wow. This man had a triple-double, 16, 22, and 13 in Game 7. Listen, that is the best big man passer in the game. Like, he has the vision of a point guard, and he's a center. Like, the dude can play the game. And remember, at one time, Denver had Jokic and Jokic. Did I get that right? Jokic and Nurkic. God, that's a tongue twister. They had both guys, and they had to decide on which one. And staying with the Joker probably was the best idea to stay with. So, congrats to the Denver Nuggets, who are now in the Western Conference Finals playing the Los Angeles Lakers. And let me tell you this. I'm not going to discredit LeBron's run, but guess what? This is a clean sweep. This is LeBron James. This is the NBA. He's going to the NBA Finals. And I can tell you this. I know the world is going to be rooting either for the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics. And I think most likely if the Miami Heat are there, I could see a lot of people starting to root for the Miami Heat. So, again, I took my serious in that. I said that they would go 5 games. That's the max. LeBron ain't, let me put it like this. LeBron ain't going 6 games with the Nuggets. He can say he respects Denver all day long. He can say that, Anthony Davis is one hell of a talent, but we're going to be battling against a team like Jamal Murray. Look, LeBron has to say that. That's a part of his act. Let's just say it like that. That's a part of his act. But LeBron's going to go out there, and I believe that they're going to beat them in 5 games. And if you think that the Nuggets are going to go 6 games with Denver, on my end, I don't see it. I don't see the Nuggets and the LA Lakers going 5 games. So, again, this bubble has been kind of interesting, maybe, or I don't know. Like this bubble has just been, it's just been different, man. It's been something different. I think everybody's had an opportunity to enjoy it. All right, what we'll do is we will take a quick break, come back on the other side of the break, talk some NFL. There was a game last night. Some guys look good. Some guys, of course, are a little frustrated about losing, which makes a ton of sense. So we'll talk a little bit of NFL and then get everybody out of here, because I know you guys are on lunch break, or some of you guys tried to run away so you don't get in trouble by listening to the podcast. You're listening to the Unscripted podcast. Hang tight, folks.
This is President Barack Obama. In the story of America, the greatest chapters are moments of challenge, when we see people serving their country and one another. Volunteers who step forward into hospital corridors and church basements, along levees and fire lines. And the next chapter is yours to help write. Sign up to volunteer at usaservice.org. That's usaservice.org. Let's renew America together.
A message from Renew America Together, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio's Freddie and Fitzsimmons. You can catch me from 9 p. to 1 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and Sirius XM Channel 80. But when I'm not on the radio, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is my man Brian Langford and the Unscripted podcast. You will not be sorry. Give it a listen. Give it a thought. He's going to make sure you're going to think plenty about what's going on in your life. So check it out. Brian Langford on the Unscripted podcast.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Unscripted podcast. appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy days, listening to the podcast on your local platforms, and everybody that is hanging with us over on Facebook Live as well. Definitely appreciate everybody. Again, I know everybody's at work, so I don't want nobody getting fired because of me. It's not what I want, man. I don't want anybody getting fired because of me at all. Yeah, because I can't pay your salary. I'm broke. I don't have any money to pay, not a drop of your salary. All right, I say when we came back, we're going to talk a little bit of NFL, and then, as always, get up out of here and let you guys, again, enjoy your day, evening, night, whenever you're listening to the podcast. Last night was our first Thursday game of the year, and it didn't disappoint me. I honestly, I was looking for disappointment, but you got two number one draft picks playing against each other with Joe Burrows and um, Baker Mayfield, and I think both played solid games. I know Burrows, man, already, and that guy has a heart of a champion. That man wants to win now. Like, you don't get too many guys in this league that want to win now. Joe Burrows is one of those guys who want to win right now, and I can't be mad at him. It's going to take some time. He's going to have to be patient, let that team build because they're a rebuilding team. Most likely, you probably won't have AJ Green too much longer. I think AJ will probably be one of those candidates to be shipped out on the trade deadline. I don't think AJ Green is going to be around that team too much longer. Baker Mayfield again played solid last night. Looks, seeing a couple of flashes of Odell Beckham Jr. But the thing about Cleveland is that, and everybody's saying it, but it is true. I think Baker is good if you start the game in the backfield. So you run Kareem Hunt and you run Nick Chubb, and then you let Baker Mayfield start going. I don't think Baker Mayfield will ever be in the class of like a Breeze, a Rodgers, Brady, Roethlisberger, Peyton, Eli, that group of people. No, he won't be that. I think he can be in the class of maybe Dak Prescott, any other guy who needs the run game to get started, for the pass game to get going. Again, Cleveland at 1-1 showed get some spark last night, but I really like the kid Joe Burrows starting for the Cincinnati Bengals. Big upgrade over Andy Dalton. And it doesn't say that Andy Dalton wasn't okay with his tenure in Cincinnati, but I definitely like Burrows. The only thing I didn't like about Joe Burrows is that he shouldn't throw the ball 61 times. And your first of all, your rookie's throwing the ball 61 times. He doesn't like losing. And again, that's the best attitude to have. You don't want your quarterback to even say, "Oh man, losing is just a thing." Nah, he doesn't like losing. I'm okay with Joe Burrow saying that. He said not one thing wrong, but throwing the ball 61 times is not the answer. So Cincinnati's going to have to go back to the drawing board as well and figure out how not to have this guy throwing the ball that many times. 61 times is not the answer for that team. I know we got week 2 coming up, and week 1 was, completely full of shockers. Week 2 could be even more shocking. I mean, there's a ton of teams playing. There's a ton of games playing. A lot of good games to be played. Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, injuries. I point back to week 1 and all the injuries. There are so many injuries going on. I don't even want to name them all. I still think the NFL should have had at least a 2-week preseason to get guys going. One thing to keep an eye on could be the Tom Brady, Bruce Arians relationship throughout the entire season. I know Brady got some public criticism from Bruce Arians about his play in week 1. And I think Brady took the backdoor exit. And if I'm Tom Brady, why not take the backdoor exit? He didn't want to talk anything about what Bruce Arians said. He just knows that he's a player. and Arians is the coach, and he's going to let the coach criticize. I think that was the thing of Brady going to Tampa Bay, is that if he was going to leave a credible coach in Bill Belichick, then he only has to play for another credible coach, and that is Bruce Arians. I know Mike Evans had also came out and told everybody, stop panicking. Stop panicking that they lost one game. One game doesn't mean anything at this point. One game means nothing. And I give Mike Evans credit for saying that. And this could be a probably better thing, or this could be probably not good for the NFL. A Chiefs and Texans attendee test positive for the COVID-19 coronavirus. That's going to put a damper on some things, because I think the NFL wanted to move the numbers up eventually. They wanted to get more people in the crowd, and you don't know where this Chiefs and Texans fan caught the coronavirus from, but of course, with everything going on, they're going to point it to the game. They're going to say, oh, he was at the game and he caught COVID-19 at the game. You can have COVID-19 for a week. You won't even know. I just think that the NFL is going to have to keep a good eye on this. I want to talk about one guy before we get out of here today, and that could be Russell Wilson. Probably the most underappreciated guy in the NFL. I think when we talk about Seattle, we mentioned the 12th man. I think when we talk about Seattle, we've talked about Marshawn Lynch. I think we've also talked about the Legion of Boom defense. I don't think people have ever truly spoke about Russell Wilson being great. The guy makes plays. He's always made bigger plays. He makes the big play. The guy, to me, is arguably Russell Wilson is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. I'll say it again. Russell Wilson is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. If you want to go Breeze, Rodgers, Wilson, or Wilson, Rodgers, Breeze, however you want to put him in there, Russell Wilson is a top 3 quarterback. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't think the team underappreciates him. I think because of the market that he's in. So Seattle's not going to be a team that, and even through their years, they've always highlighted the Legion of Boom defense. It was always the Legion of Boom, the Legion of Boom. And then it was Skittles, Marshawn Lynch. But it was never the quietest guy kept in the room in Russell Wilson. So he's playing in a smaller market. I think if Russ was like in a New York, or, I hate to say it, if he was like in a New York or Washington, Philly or Dallas or anything like that, he would get more respect than he gets now. He just doesn't get a ton because, how many Seattle Seahawks games do you get a year? You get a primetime game, and if you have the package, then you get the NFL. You get the NFL package. You get a couple of those games as well. Again, week 1 full of injuries. Week two, I hate to say it, could end up being the same thing. I don't want it. I don't want to see any injuries, but those are the things that happen in the NFL. Just a quick note here that the 49ers have placed cornerback Richard Sherman on the injured reserve list. Remember, 3 weeks, he can come back. Again, way too many injuries in week 1. Hopefully that the NFL rethinks this thing eventually, because I don't see them. Honestly, I don't think the NFL will finish the season. With all the injuries and then the COVID-19 and with it being, with it getting colder, I don't think the NFL will finish out the entire year. All right, well, as always, I like to say thank you for everybody who always tunes in, who calls, tweets, texts, anything like that. I must truly say I'm humbled, and I really appreciate you guys always taking time out of your day, because guess what? Your time is valuable, and so is mine. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody listening to the Unscripted podcast, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Unscripted podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.